Welcome, Vols and Lady Vols, to Power Tea Talk. From the Cathedral of Neyland Stadium to the fanatical, ridiculous, hilarious landscape of college sports, we're breaking down the plays, the players, and the pride of the Southland. I'm Daniel, your host, here with my comrade and co-host, Zach. Grab your orange and white. Let's run through the tea. It's time to give our all for Tennessee. This is Power Tea Talk. I've been having a thought lately, and I haven't quite figured out how to phrase it, and so I'm going to do it here, and we're going to figure it out together. And this is on the kind of where we are with college football, which will be a bigger off-season conversation once, admittedly, a good playoff is concluded. I've been thinking about what era do you consider the most legitimate national titles to come from? Here's what I mean. Here, I think you can kind of pick up on the thread I'm going down. But so, like long ago, where like these kind of old programs were stacking national titles, it's like there's all sorts of reasons that we don't consider those super legitimate, even if they count towards the total. Great. And then there's kind of the era of like maybe 80s and 90s where like we know there was some mischief going on, but it felt like you're almost building regionally, so it felt a little more natural. And again, these are imperfect timeline cutoffs and things like that, but it's like you're building with the players that are close to you geographically, and some of them turned out really good, and you have some kind of dynasty stemming from that. Then you have what I'll just go ahead and call like the Saban era, which is things got a little more national, and suddenly he's pulling kids from North Carolina and from California, and ESPN coverage is full court press. And so like you want to be at Alabama. And then you have the more recent, I mean, obviously the only thing you can call it is the NIL era, where to me it's...
Well, there's the NIL era and then there's Saban's NIL era, right?
Yeah, gosh, yeah. And so I'm just wondering, and this is just a conversation in light of like, we're at the Final Four of the playoff. It was a great second round. I think it could be epic heading into, we're recording this on a Wednesday, heading into Thursday and Friday, and so we'll see. But do these feel, it feels like a more even playing field. It does feel like we've allowed the opportunity for rosters to be a little more fair, and whatever version of parity we're very clumsily leaning toward, it seems like we're there a little bit. And this isn't me trying to devalue past championships, but I find myself glad that we're out of an era where it's just cool to be at Bama, and so you get to hoard 5 stars in the 4 deep. But we're also in a very weird place where things are microwaved, and you're pulling people middle of the playoff run, and like Indiana just got a commitment from a Miami tight end, which feels all too convenient. I don't know. Like, do you have a lean on what? We have our favorite eras of college football, but do you feel like we're in a point where we're moving towards these championships feel more legitimate, or am I overcomplicating it?
No, I think there's like 2 ways to look at it. So one is hilarious enough. Everyone thought the transfer portal in the NIL era would shrink even more so than we had. And it's done the opposite. We now have 3 teams that have never won a consensus national title with a shot to win a title, and Miami hasn't won one in 25 years. That's kind of crazy when you actually think about it. Everyone thought, oh my God, Georgia's going to just, get all the 5 stars with all the money. They'll get every transfer. And it's done the opposite, partly because kids still want to play, and B, whether this is fair or not, it does seem like there was the South pays players, nobody else does kind of cloud that hung over college football for half a century. That maybe was true, because now we have, I heard somebody say, no, it's no longer car dealership and oil money. It's big tech money, right? With these North schools and with the West Coast. I think Cal is like number 7th in the portal class or something. It's crazy. And then I look at like kind of the pre-BCS era. I was like, I cannot believe we just let AP journalists vote
Just
for a
like have
national
at it.
title,
Yeah.
and sports information directors for I would probably say the fourth biggest sport in this country, right? Like after NFL and baseball and basketball. So it is insane that we did that. I would say like the best era was like, or the most legitimate for like national titles, probably 98 to 07, like before the
I was going to say like 95 to
Sabernification of it.
2010 range.
Right. In 97, they had split national titles. Like, and I know we've discussed this ad nauseum between ourselves. Like the BCS was never perfect, but it did provide a clearer picture of it, right? The BCS was around in 97. It's Nebraska, Michigan playing for a national title instead of Michigan being contractually obligated to go play in the Rose Bowl
Yeah.
and this whole Bowl Alliance thing. If you ever read it, like just go on Wikipedia and read about what the Bowl Alliance and Bowl Coalition was. It's really dumb. It's like this is the dumbest system of all time. So I would say it's that, but it was crazy watching Indiana just kick the living hell out of Alabama, seeing them dominate not only physically but coaching and athleticism and all of that. And it's like, man, this NIL transfer portal changed the sport in a way I don't even think anyone else could have predicted.
No, so like it's funny. We were taking like a little bit of time off for the holidays, and I have a text message to myself that says, "Discuss what you think is the most legitimate national title era."
Mm-hmm.
And that was sent to myself during the Indiana Alabama game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't know that. Like you just mentioned it, but you did not know that. And because I was sitting there thinking, like, there's something here where, like, we can all love Signetti and respect the hell out of what he's doing. This was not possible a decade ago.
No,
It
absolutely not.
was like it was not possible. And if anything, the Indiana kids, if he did stumble upon something at Indiana or James Madison, would have been more likely to go latch onto the Bama roster
Mm-hmm.
than vice versa. Whereas now you just can't. I mean, kids want to play, kids want to get paid, some combination of both. But it's just so interesting to me that like multiple of those scores were James Madison kids. They weren't. It wasn't the thing where he convinced LSU and Georgia and Bama kids to come play in Bloomington. He just built what he knew could be a quality football team out of the spare parts. And when you think about, we've kind of said this for a long time, and the never ending debate of 5 stars versus 4 stars versus 3 stars versus, player development. If you think about it as like a normal curve of players and you have the 5 stars at like 2 standard deviations above the mean, that's great. But there's only so many of them. And then you have this gigantic clump of players that if they are put in the right situation and if they are more experienced, and that's one thing Signetti did, is he has all like 60-year players on the roster, or at least heavily leaning that direction. Okay, you take 3 and 4 stars who were at some other place, but they've been in a program for 5 years and they have a really, really good coach. Suddenly the playing field is evened out a lot. And so I don't know. I mean, we're early in this messy era, but it did kind of remind me of just how it reminds me of like the debates about like how like class size and gray shirts and get shirts and all this different stuff in recruiting that
Mm-hmm.
like the whole system for a long time in the SEC was like, we're paying people under the table. Everybody knows it. Nobody really knows how to talk about it. And we're cramming these classes full of talent and just daring kids to leave because they have to sit out a year. And as
Mm-hmm.
soon as that got normalized a little bit, as soon as money was a little more even and movement was a little more free, like you said, we got a Final Four where 75% of the field has never touched this before because they weren't allowed to.
It's become the NFL. You are a draft class or 2 draft classes and a good free agent class away from making a Super Bowl. I think about the Bengals. They were the worst team in football in 2020 or 2019. They draft Joe Burrow. They draft Jamar Chase. They draft T. Higgins, all within that span. No, they don't have a good coach. No one thinks Zach Taylor's a great coach. They had a bunch of spare parts on defense that they did with free agency. Jesse Bates, Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader, a couple other linebackers and stuff like that. And in year 2 of the Burrow era, they make the Super Bowl and are an Aaron
Really
Donald
close
play
to winning.
away from winning it. That is what has happened. You are now a Fernando Mendoza is a good quarterback. Let's go ahead and get him. We're going to take some James Madison players. We're going to take some guys that, 5 years ago couldn't be 6-year seniors, but can now because we're finishing out COVID and, red shirts and stuff like that. And the NCAA seems to just grant 50 years to whoever wants one, unless you're Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak. But
Yeah.
it's changed now where one off season can really absolutely change everything about your program. I think of like Ole Miss. When did Ole Miss ever have a talent advantage in
I
the
know.
SEC? In our entire life, right? And other than like they had Eli Manning for 3 years, that was literally their only talent advantage at any point. And that watching them against Georgia, I'm like, I don't know if Georgia is actually more talented than them. At least not in a window. It's in a window, right? Like they're if Georgia's the second team, most talented team, Ole Miss is right in that same tier. It's completely changed the sport. And I wonder now if you kind of look at what Indiana's done, and the dirty little secret is Mark Cuban has put in a lot of money in that program after he left Dallas, and it's been his little pet project. So that's and not taking away from Zignetti, by the way. That's not a shot at him, but that changed things. And now Cal boosters are stepping up. Virginia Tech's like, we're going to commit $50 million. It's like you're going to probably see schools that go 3-9, 4-8 in the future win a playoff game within 2 years. Where when Josh Heupel takes over, we're like, God, if we make a bowl in year 4,
I know.
we might be in good shape. And it's just completely changed everything. And because of the quarterback position, that's really a big part of this, right? Like the quarterback position, the fact that you can change that room in 1 year and go from disaster, bad to awesome, really evens the field up so much.
Yeah, it makes like the rest of the operation actually come to fruition. Where I do feel like there have been times where like I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but there have been times where like a random Big Ten team would have a good O line or would have a really stingy defense, but they would have somebody back there who just like couldn't complete a pass. And
Literally
so
the Brett Bielema, Paul
yes,
Chryst era of football at Wisconsin. Sans Russell Wilson 1 year.
yeah, and they were extremely good when they had a dynamic
Mm-hmm.
quarterback like that, and they got him to come there from NC State, and I don't know, I really did think it would go the other direction where I thought it would be Ole Miss had a cute little run, and then all the talent got vacuumed up by Georgia and vacuumed up by Alabama, and even those mid-tier SEC teams could never sniff the top-tier teams, and it's just I just pictured it wrong. It's actually been the total opposite, where it's pulling at it's tugging at the edges of all those other rosters in really important ways, and then, in ways that when you think about like the two end of the 2 deep and the 3 deep on like a Alabama or Georgia, it's not that those guys are the guys who are starting are infinitely better than the guy right behind them, but the guy right behind him is now able to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a very small difference in talent who is now somewhere else with the opportunity to thrive, whereas before they were just going to be buried. And then the other example I think of in this regard, and I I don't know that I feel comfortable with what I'm about to say, but one of the smartest builds we've seen is what Miami has done. Because Cristobal, for all his flaws, said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have the most kick-ass trenches that you can possibly have."
Mm-hmm.
And those have almost all been like growth internally. Like Bain has been there. The tackles have been there. Like this was not portal microwave. This was we're building this over time. And then you sprinkle on a little bit of receiver dust, and you sprinkle on a star freshman, and you sprinkle on a solid portal quarterback, and now all that stuff is coming together. And I don't know, like the same stuff still matters, but the process to get there is not what I expected at all.
I couldn't imagine 5 years ago when this all happened saying, does my head coach know how the market's going to play out? Like he's looking at Wall Street. And look at Brandon Sorsby. Texas Tech need to pull an extra $1 million because LSU goes late, right? And maybe, I don't want to criticize Kiffin. I don't know, but it seems like LSU maybe undervalued a little bit or did think Texas Tech had that money having it. And now they get the number one quarterback in the country that was available, portal quarterbacks. And I just wonder if we're just going to eventually have this team be like, we're going to recruit, we're going to have 20 freshmen on the team, and they're going to be 3 stars. We're going to let them know they're not going to play until for 3 years, and we'll pay them and whatnot, and we'll develop them. And then 80% of our team's transfers. Like, I'm almost wondering if we're going to get that at some point where it's consistently like that, where we're just going to, and maybe that's not functional because playing time and whatnot, but I just look at Oregon and Ole Miss and Indiana and Miami and how they all use the transfer portal in different ways. It's like, if you are even slightly behind the transfer portal, you're just behind college football. And it's crazy. That's kind of the world we live in now.
It really is crazy to me. I mean, you got Miami who just like made Julian Sand look like a freshman, like they should have. And that entire secondary is portal. Like, nobody that impacted that game on the back end was there as a recruit. And again, you have Mesidor and you have Bain who were there, but I don't know. It's just very interesting. And at the same time, and this goes to like some of the frustrations we're going to talk about in this episode from a Tennessee perspective, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it and what it means for program building and what it means for like whether we can have programs anymore. I don't know. Like, that's not the right way to phrase that, but at the same time, as exciting and like kind of leveling the playing field as it is, it does really seem like you're just putting a bunch of stuff into a snow globe and shaking it up and then cracking the snow globe open and seeing what rises to the top. And I realize I'm just describing like a season. That's what happens. You see what rises to the top, but it felt so predictable for so long when we knew what was happening with rosters. And now it's like, I don't have a grasp on it. I really don't. And I don't see how you build a program now. I really don't. And again, like, we're hoping people can figure it out, and then maybe some already are, but there's no structure to this.
Think how young Tennessee was this past year. Right. They were, I think, the youngest team in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken.
And let me say this real quick before you go.
Yeah.
If Tennessee had found a route to the playoffs, I'm not saying we were an inch away. I don't care about that conversation. If we had, Indiana would have crushed us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like partially because they're super well coached, but because it would have been a relatively young roster playing against the oldest roster in college football.
Yeah, they would have destroyed us. Absolutely. And my point was, I look at Tennessee and how young they were. How exciting would be having the youngest team in the SEC and winning 8 games be 10 years ago?
Exactly.
It's like, oh my God, could we win maybe not a national title, but like, oh, we're going to compete, be a top 10 team. And now it's like, after a couple portal misses and stuff, and I know it's not over, and Tennessee's still looking and whatnot. It's like, well, it doesn't matter because we've lost, 3 guys we thought would be contributors, and now Tennessee struck out on a couple kids. They got outbid for a kid. Like, it's kind of crazy now. It's like, okay, well, that whole youngest thing, what's that mean? It's, yeah, sure. Maybe for like your offensive line, that's nice to have. Defensive line, sure. But it's like, okay, cool. But now our linebackers still suck. And the linebacker coach came back, and 5 other SEC schools got better at linebacker. So it's kind of crazy that it's changed that. And the other thing too is like, it's kind of kill development. Like, I'm thinking about how bad offensive lines in the NFL are going to be in 5 or 10 years.
Oh my God.
Because like Oregon, I brought this up before, like they lost 120 starts and they replaced it with 120 starts because they just got a bunch of transfer kids. And it's like, David Sanders, I bet he's probably, I don't know how many right tackles, true freshmen started 5-6 games. I bet it wasn't a lot this year. So it's going to be, the development too is harder now because it's like, well, do I make decisions? Do I want to develop Edwin Spillman, who showed some promise, has some talent, or, we went 8-5 this year. I can't take chances. I can't take the chances Spillman's not going to develop. So I'm going to take that kid from Kentucky, or take that kid from
Miami of Ohio.
Mississippi,
Yeah.
Miami of Ohio. Yeah, or take the Kansas State safety. I don't know if Ed Reese-Farouk's going to improve, so I'm going to take Quay Moss, and we're gonna, because I know he's good. Like it's so fascinating, and I always dreamed of being a college football coach. Like that was always the most fun, to create your coach in NCAA football and pretend to be a college football coach. I would absolutely not be a college football coach. I would rather be an NFL offensive coordinator. Absolutely, 100%.
I would rather be almost anything. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
they pay you a lot
Right.
to be miserable. But I remember one time
if
someone
you're a
said,
MAC school,
you have to work a lot. And it's like, yeah, but they pay you to work a lot.
and I know $1 million is still $1 million a year. Okay, I get that. But if you're like Miami of Ohio, and I think that coach probably makes maybe 1.25 million, I can't imagine that is. I don't know if it'd be worth it. I really don't. And that's crazy to think, that say that in 2026. Like, is it worth $1 million to coach a college football Division I team? I'm sure it is overall. I'm sure if you asked him and his family, like, yes, it is still worth
They're
it.
doing all right.
But like the constant stress of like, oh wow, this freshman running back's been really good for us this year. Can't wait to have him back. Oh no, we're gonna lose him. Like it would drive me crazy.
You have to know that if you have someone who's been like pretty good in practice and you're super excited about him in fall camp, if you're anywhere but the big programs, or even sometimes the big programs, if you have to, there was a coach this year who saw a player breaking out and just looked at their assistant coaches the next week and said, well, that was fun. That was cool. I'm glad we got 6 games of that, because it's the last time we're going to see him here. Like, just look, I wouldn't even be surprised if like you see it during a game, guy breaks a huge run or whatever, a huge screen pass for a touchdown, and everybody's watching, this action in the middle of the week, and the offensive coordinator looks at the head coach and says, hey, enjoy it while it lasts, because somebody saw that. It's just
basically did that with Alonzo Barnett in the James Madison playoff game. Like, it was like, oh, he's probably not coming back next year, but look how hard he's fighting and whatnot. And it's just it's a new world. And
it also makes me wonder if like so you have Miami season, and I've given Carson Beck to hell and back. He's in the playoff and Georgia isn't. I think he officially won. And so, good for him. But it makes you wonder if, like, even if they had built parts of this roster and maybe the back end on defense wouldn't have been that bad, and they have a good running back and they have the trenches figured out, but if there wasn't this portal, would the past 2 years have just been like Emory Williams or whatever not going to work out Miami quarterback recruit instead of Cam Ward and Carson Beck, and it just would have been completely useless seasons? I think it may have leaned that direction.
I mean, think if, I know Nico left because of the transfer portal, but what if Nico is like, hey, I'm going to have surgery on my wrist or something, I'm not playing this year? It's like, oh, okay, cool. Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre for 12 games. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. Like we know we're going to talk about a better answer this year in the podcast. It's on our sheet to do, but it's funny because we do a podcast, so we have to talk about it. But I wish we kind of did what I did last year, and when the season was over, I was like, cool, I don't care. Just mute transfer portal on Twitter. I will check back in the spring.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we're going to quote unquote analyze it. I use the term loosely because I don't know. I mean, I don't have a handle on it, and I don't have it. Like, this is the last thing I'll say on this specifically, and then we'll get to some conversation about the bowl, and then we'll circle back around to some other things. But the like rough estimation via sites that want your clicks and sites that do prospect evaluation and like just ad hoc back of the napkin math on like, I really hope that these coaches have a good understanding of the market value for a transfer running back. It's like, what do you mean?
But it's part of the job.
No, it's totally part of the job. Like
it's also so stupid to say it.
I also hope that they do, but I'm not going to pretend like I could see a number and say they do or don't.
Right. It's like the on-3 evaluation. Yeah, I know.
You could tell me any number that Deshaun Bishop renegotiated to, and I would say, Okay.
And
Because
yeah,
it's
if
all
we
the
pay
Wild
Sam Levitt
West.
$5 million and we win the SEC, he's still underpaid.
Yeah. And then if you had paid him if you really wanted to get him and you went to 5.2 and he gets hurt and transfers after 1 year, then what did you do? I don't know. I don't know. Makes
It's
my
not
head
your
hurt.
money then, right?
True. True. So I guess we got to, part of this was a huge detour to not talk about that bowl game, but we got to talk
Yeah.
about it a little bit. The thing that stood out to me, and this is kind of what I'll leave it at. In some ways, it was a microcosm of something that we're going to talk about more heading into next season. Of like the offense is nowhere near bad. The offense is nowhere near upsetting. The offense, frankly, was good, but just not as fierce as we want it to be. Like 14 of 18, 121 for Joey, no touchdowns, average 4 yards a carry, massive mistake that led to a touchdown for them. I don't know, just like it just leaves you wanting a little bit. Uh, Nothing bad, just not as humming as we want it to be. And so that was my main takeaway. I mean, there's all sorts of other frustrating stuff, and I'm not going to flip out about a bowl game, but there was some frustrating stuff. But my main thing when I'm thinking about what I can learn about it for thinking about next year, my main thing was there's just something a little too lully about this offense right now.
Mhm.
It's just not as. This is going to sound so silly, but it's just not as good as it could be. We can stress teams more than we do sometimes. And that's potentially unfair, but things like the screen game and creativity off the screen game, some stuff just kind of disappeared in ways that we need them to stick around.
Good lesson to get some more counters in. Hassel not being there seemed to play a big part of that. I think Illinois was just like, cool, if you try and beat us over the top, then we'll take our chances. And of course, then we figured out Joey's got a benign tumor in his
Talk about a
arm.
warrior.
Yeah, exactly. And forever respect to 6, no matter what happens moving forward. Yeah, I don't know exactly. It just never seemed like it fully clicked other than Bishop like getting loose. Thought the offensive line run blocking was really good in this game, but
Really good.
Illinois
And then you
also,
had Starr that was like tapping to come out after 2 or 3 runs. And
yeah, you were not happy about
I just
that.
don't, there's just parts of it that I'm like, what are we, what, what is missing?
Here's my take. I don't really care that they lost.
I think,
I don't.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
It has zero
it led
outcome
to
for
a kicker in the portal. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, other than Max Gilbert did not redeem himself, I don't know if it really affected anything. Maybe a donor was like, "Oh, hey, here's an extra $500K for the portal." I don't know. How we lost made it less fun. I will say that, and not being able to say 4 straight 9-win seasons kind of sucks. Like that would have been. I know it's not 10. I know maybe it doesn't matter, but it would have been nice to have. Here's what I'm upset about. And it kind of ties back into what we were talking about with market value and planning and how you got to prepare your program and everything. There were a bunch of guys, 5th year and 6th year seniors, who I appreciate, who have little to no shot in the NFL, getting snaps over freshman and sophomore that need to play. Star Thomas got 17 snaps. Had he gotten 17
I
snaps
was
in
going to
2
ask,
months,
was that the most he got all year?
it has to be. Not all year, but it definitely was since the last 6 weeks. Why is Dwayne Morris not getting those snaps? I don't understand. Miles Kitselman got 22 snaps. Why? What does that serve? He's not playing in the NFL. Bryson
I think he
Eason
will, just for the record. I think he
okay,
will.
sorry. He's put enough film out
I agree.
that his draft decision has been made, right? Like a team's going to take him or not. Bryson Eason got 50 snaps. That seems like pretty high. Tyree West got 30 snaps. I don't think Tyree played 30 snaps in an SEC game this year. Dominic Bailey got 53 snaps. 53.
Like
and I think he'll play in the NFL.
I agree. Like they've done the thing that they've done already. I don't know.
Caleb Herring got 50 snaps in this game.
And transferred
and then
48 hours later.
Yes, that's insane. And I got to think you knew that, And then Ben Bolden gets 24 snaps. Okay. And then this was the big one.
I know what you're going to say.
William Wright, God bless him, who shout out to his 2022 not getting beat over the top against Alabama. Forever, I appreciate you, Mr. Wright. William Wright got 72 snaps. Let me repeat that. William Wright got 72 snaps at corner. That is more than he had all year in one game. He's a 6-year senior. He is not playing in the NFL. I don't even know if he's going to play in the XFL. I really don't. No offense to him. That is a disaster. That cannot happen.
It just doesn't make sense from a roster management perspective.
And here's the other thing with that. That means he got 2.5 weeks of first team reps at practice.
Yeah.
That Andre Turntine got 64 snaps.
Yes, he did.
And we lost because the defense was terrible. So
they were so bad, by the way.
Illinois was 94th percentile success rate, 89th EPA rush, 65 percentile in yards per drop back. They were 7-16 on money downs. Tennessee gave up 27 first downs overall. Illinois was successful on 63% of their runs. So you play all of these seniors that don't either have already played enough snaps in their career to put enough out on film, or guys who didn't play all year and shouldn't have played and got way more snaps, and you don't improve. You don't improve to anybody. Trey Petit plays like 15 snaps. Like, I'm sorry, he needs to get all of William Wright snaps. Denis Walton, I think, got like 5 snaps. There's no reason that Andre Turntine got 64 of the snaps. And I get it. There is a fine line, right? Because you don't want to piss off other players. Those are veteran leaders. This was a big discussion point with Joe Milton, right? In 23,
yeah.
Should he play over Nico? I get it. But also, you have to do what's best for the program. And quarterback is different than telling Dominic Bailey, hey, you can dress, you're getting 15 snaps. Tyree, we appreciate you. You're going to play 10 snaps. Hey, William, I'm going to get you out there. I'm going to let you put a little tape out, but like you're going to come in a situation. That's all fine. There's a way to manage it. That is indefensible by Josh Heupel and William Inge to put that many guys out there who are not going to be on team next year. And here's the thing. Caleb Herring and Jordan Ross, I think, got all the Leo snaps, if I'm not mistaken.
They're
both in the portal. They're both, and I still think they're trying to get Ross back. I think Herring's gone, no matter what. But so now you didn't get to play anyone in that spot as a freshman and see what they have and see if they might be something that you could focus on. And look, Heupel's probably would come back and tell me, hey, man, I know what they do in practice. So I know when I'm watching. I get that. But games are different. And this is a big game with a good crowd, and weather was good, and you know, Illinois really showed up. Their fans showed up. I was really impressed to have that bad. If you win the game, cool, whatever, awesome, you get a bowl win. To be as bad as you were defensively and lose,
I know,
and put that many guys out is really frustrating.
Those snap count numbers and like the defensive lack of prowess that you just ran through is just like that combination makes it really, really tough to swallow. And I don't even care that we gave up yardage. That's what we did this year. I wasn't mad about that during the game. I was not mad that we were just getting gashed. That's just how we played all season. And then we just got our final dose of 22-2 and whoever else running around. But it's just like, why not try something different? The other thing too is I've mentioned this a couple of times on the podcast, not with any sort of like conclusion around it, but none of our games this year some of them, but not all of them made sense from like a yardage and amount of plays and difference in yardage and the result perspective. Like the Bama game got super weird, partially because of the gigantic interception return. Obviously, the Oklahoma game, there was a gigantic return. This was another one where like the yardage looks crazy and how was it close, but why wasn't it? Why is our yardage so low? I think all year I've discounted how much of an impact it is when you just can't stop the run.
Yep.
When
They
you
were
can't
awful all
stop the
year.
run and you can't stop money downs, it's why we've had games this year where, like, yes, we do have a good and often efficient offense, but then your leading receiver has 3 catches for 43 yards. It's
Mhm.
not because, again, like, we were missing Brazel. It's not because Matthews and Staley are terrible. It's not because we don't have weapons. It's not because we won't have weapons in the future. But when you get, like, what seems like 4 cracks at it on offense before the other team goes and runs for 7 yards a carry, it just really throws off what a normal football game feels like. And I think all year I've sort of undersold how weird that makes stuff when everything can just go from like, all right, well, we're in that second, third quarter lull potential. And it's like if we don't hit a couple shot plays or if we have one drop pass, we don't see the ball for 14 plays. And with a defense like this, that was the case once again.
It's not an apples to apples comparison, but it reminds me of when you have a bad bullpen in baseball.
That's a
Mm,
very I like it. I'm a
It
Nationals
mentally
fan, so this lands.
right. So it it affects every part of the team. When you can't stop the run, it's like puts so much more pressure on your offense. It puts so much more pressure on your secondary. Your coach isn't confident in you. You can't be trusted on money down. So like it just affects everything, right? Everything becomes more you get squeezed in a little bit on other spots.
Everything
So
feels
that
like the dog days of summer with a bad bullpen when you're up 4-2, but you might not add much more than that. And you're 7, 8, 9 is coming up, and they've got the heart of the order coming up, and you're throwing, you know, Johnny Johnny bullpen out there. That's I think that's a pretty darn good comparison that you've landed on.
and
Where yeah,
how you take out the run game with a stadium just kind of hushes over, right? It's like that feeling when you're the home team and you bring in a bad pitcher and he walks the first batter. The entire dynamic of the stadium changes. That's kind of how I feel like when you can't stop the run. It just completely it's like 1st and 10. Okay, we gave up a couple first downs and then it's 2nd and 2. It's like God, it's like here we go again. It affects the whole team. And
compared
that's
to
the first thing Knowles has to fix. I don't
yep,
care I don't care how. And even if the secondary struggles next year, like fine. Like just please be able to get you in some 2nd and 8s. If it's 3rd and 3, please just don't give up 5. Like it's stuff like that has to be fixed.
because I think about last year as in, like, the Nico year, the offense was really struggling, really
Mhm.
struggling. The offensive line, I don't think was as good as it was this year. We had some major gash holes there. We had a really good running back though, and the defense, you had Pierce, you had Lott, you had better linebacker play, you had better secondary play. As long as we could hold up, it was like all we need is for Samson to break a tackle, and this place is ready to explode. Whereas this year really did feel like the opposite. It was like we need every single play to be a big, big play, or it's just a matter of time. And we saw that in the Georgia game. We saw it in the Illinois game. We returned like the most ridiculous kickoff return touchdown that I've seen in a while.
Mhm.
And I think every Tennessee fan, if they were honest in that moment, said, well, we're going to lose.
Too much time. Yeah.
Too much time. It could have been a minute 12 and it would have been too much time.
Too much time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm not mad about it from the perspective of like, I can't believe we gave up yardage. Like, guys, have you been watching? But I am a little not lukewarm, but just like I want to dissect the offense. And we're going to bring a critical eye to what we expect from the offense next year when we have some more answers on what the personnel are going to look like in all this messiness of this silly season. Now, I do think this is an easy transition into like what the defensive staff is going to look like
Mhm.
because there's reason for optimism there. And you and I talked a little bit offline about this. We can dissect it any which way on both sides of the ball, but I think we can pretty confidently say there's no way the defense can be worse next year.
Almost impossible. um,
Yeah, like
I
mathematically impossible.
yeah, yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is Martinez.
Yeah.
because there was I think most fans were like, "Hey, he's not doing it. He's not done a good job." But like corner was maybe the one spot outside of Boo, which wasn't his fault, where you could be like, "Hey, that was actually not bad defensively." Like when you looked
Well,
at how
especially
well Hood played
considering
and
who we
all the
lost.
injuries and yeah, exactly. But it was bad for 4 years. So it's
Yes.
and and the thing is this: when you hire Jim Knowles and when you pay Jim Knowles, he gets to make those decisions. And if he said, "Hey, I appreciate you, Willie, but you've had a good career, but it's just not going to happen." Like I can't default to him. And he brought in Michael Hunter. We'll talk about Poindexter. He's the bigger name, but Michael Hunter, young guy, he's a Knowles disciple. He's been with him since the Okie State days. So to me, I have no issues with that. Martinez isn't that great of a recruiter either when you look at the numbers and everything. So I have no problem with that. I am very excited about Poindexter being the safeties and co-defensive coordinator, which was very interesting. That's a dude that has universal approval from college football people in the know. He's a great recruiter. He's a great coach. His players have loved him. Like he got a lot of kudos from former players when he got hired. And I wonder if maybe, I don't know this, if Knowles was like 3 years and handed over to him full time. Either way, I revamping the defense. You could not have the safety play and like try and redo it, even with Martinez being a corners coach. We know Martinez is probably mixed in with both. I know Banks was the safeties coach, but I'd imagine Martinez worked with them. So Hunter and Poindexter in the back end, I'm pretty excited about. Hunter seems like a young up and comer. He's got some stuff to prove, but like we've seen it work. Kelsey Pope did not have much of a resume, and he did a really good job this year. So I'm excited about that.
Are you? I mean, we were excited about Knowles when we hired him. To me, and this is, I'm always one that like, I think probably overall every single fan base makes too much one direction or the other about what their staff looks like. Not that coaching doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying at all. But
Mhm.
like, I think the moments where college football fan bases can get themselves in some trouble are when like this one position coach is like gonna make or break how your team performs. But I will say, based on the resumes that we saw and the how seemingly organized it was coming together, and maybe that's me falling for marketing, but the combination of like guys that are young and energetic and good recruiters and guys that Knowles knows, I'm really optimistic about the staff overall. And the reason for that is this isn't like we didn't say like, hey, we're going to get Knowles, then we're going to get every mercenary at every position that, people say are good in the SEC. We got Knowles and then guys who work with Knowles' system. And to me, I think that is the approach more so than like, the Ed Orgeron type staff of just like guys, guys,
Yeah.
guys, guys, guys.
It's completely different too. Like it used to be like, hey, you need to have a guy that has ties to Georgia and had success
Yep.
recruiting in Georgia. Yeah, it's not like that anymore. It's not like that since this transfer portal era. I'm going to ask you a question. William Inch deserved to be back. I know his resume says yes. He has a fantastic resume. But man, were they bad in that? He did not exactly set the world on fire as a defensive coordinator in the bowl game. Not that should
No,
matter.
I don't know that should matter, but this is just my default answer is that I don't know. I don't have a name that I would pick over him. It's not my job to have a name that I would pick over him. I guess I go back to like, there's no way that makes or breaks things.
Okay. And
And that's
it's
not
Knowles'
a great
decision.
answer, but
Well, I mean, Willie's been with Heupel
yeah,
for damn near a decade now. So my thinking would be if Heupel was willing to say like Willie's not coming back, then I would like to think that Knowles was like good with Inge, which maybe might be enough
exactly.
to be okay with.
Yeah, if this guy that we from my perspective and from your perspective, and I think the maybe correct side to be on is that we generally are excited about Knowles. There's all sorts of reasons to be. If he's like, hey, these are the guys I want, this is who I'm going to ask you to uncomfortably kick out of this staff, but that guy right there can hang around, that doesn't sway me one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that, and this, not that this gets Inge off the hook, but I do think that outside of Carter, I mean, some of the issues at linebacker were talent, not
It's fair.
T-Lander can't do it.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think William Inge can coach him to do it.
No, I don't know that anyone could. And so
William Inge can't coach Edwin Spillman to 20 pounds overnight.
no, he can't. And so, and again, I don't know what that means in terms of like the guys we have on the roster. Maybe that was the best way to kind of lift up the guys that we have on the roster, like Perlotti and people we have some faith in. And then I don't know what the answers are going to be in the portal, but if we do bring in portal guys with these new connections, maybe that's the kind of happy medium of like Inge has actually a room that could be better. And then the staff overall might have some ideas on how the rest of it can be better.
I'm going to steal a bit of yours, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm very glad Rodney Gardner is back on the defensive line, but they were terrible this year.
Yeah, that was very well done. I appreciate the shout out. They were bad, man.
They got to be better. Like, and I believe in Gardner, but like it was pretty bad outside of Joseph's.
I'll tell you what, man. We didn't know what to do with it heading into the season because we had a lot of faith in Joseph's, and I think he's going to play in the league for a while. You see what Pierce did as a rookie, and you just like remember. I love Pierce. I was one that thought our fan base treated him like crap based on how good he was.
Mm-hmm.
You just like the memories I have of him popping off the screen every game last year. We didn't see that at all this year.
No, like Tyree West every once in a while would wreck a dude. That was about it. Like
there's a reason. I mean, there's a reason first round edges are first round edges, and Pierce is just one of those guys. He's long. He can bend. He alleviated as much pain as he could from what that trade was initially going to look like for the Falcons. But he didn't alleviate any pain from our defense this year because we didn't have anybody like that.
I know this isn't true, but it felt like not one defensive tackle in an SEC game beat their dude and was in the backfield and got a running back for a loss. I know that's not true.
It's not that far from it though.
But like, I think the Florida game was the only game where I can like remember. I think Bailey had a couple, but like,
yeah. And then I mean, you think about the talent deficiencies we had at the second level. I don't know, it's just so funny, man. I don't mean to keep harping on it, but you think about the linebackers we were throwing out there, and you think about like if you looked at our linebackers, especially without Carter, if you looked at T-Lander and said, what would be the worst possible thing to have in front of him? You would say, oh, some like slightly smaller defensive tackles who can't occupy or disrupt blocks. It's like, hey, we've got that for you too.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like, oh, hey, by the way, you're going to be behind two guys in Bryson Eason and Dominic Bailey who are like should be depth, not 50 to 70 snaps games, guys.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and this is me making myself be disciplined in this way, even though it's very scary right now. So I don't know if you saw it, but Chaz Nimrod transferred to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense, I guess. I mean, he
had a nice year at South Florida, right?
Yeah, solid year. But he was the only one of all those wide receivers who left that we even remotely gave a crap about missing. And frankly, we didn't need him. Like I'm glad he's doing well. We won't miss him. Technically, and at the time, I said, I don't think I'm going to miss any of these guys. I understand the panic, but I don't think I'm going to miss any of these guys. Technically, I should have the same attitude about Herring and Ross and others because they've produced about as much as Squirrel White or way less.
It's like the offensive line last year.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you lose 4 starters and you bring 4 new guys in. You're like, oh, you're thinking, oh, this could be bad. And then you're like, well, okay, none of those guys got drafted. None of those guys got signed. And it's like, okay, no, Hurd's a former 5-star, and Moe and Pendleton both have multiple years starting, and Sanders is the best offensive tackle prospect in a decade that's come to Tennessee. It's like, well, actually, maybe this works out better. And I almost wonder if that's what we're going to see. And I thought Utley and Campbell showed something. I think Campbell had a really nice play, if I'm not mistaken, on
And
one.
I mean, there's no whispers about them. They seem to be firmly around,
Yes,
and
exactly.
they're a little
And
bigger.
we'll get to Ross in a minute because that one is an interesting conversation. But it's like Nathan Robinson had moments, like he popped in the Syracuse game. And so it's like, maybe you bring in one more starting guy, like veteran, maybe one designated pass rusher inside. It's like, I could absolutely see this room just being better, just like that. Like addition by subtraction,
Yeah,
especially in this era where, 10 years ago, it's like, oh my God, they lost like 6 of their top 8 defensive guys. It's like defensive linemen. Like that's really bad. But now it's like, I actually think this could be good.
like Herring. The problem is we've watched Tennessee the most out of any team, and so
Hmm.
we remember all the Herring good and all the ones where it seemed like he got held a little bit or he almost made a play, and he had some moments like that. He's very good at that specific role. But if Jim Knowles was, and he's not going to say this, but if Jim Knowles was like, he's too small, he doesn't fit what we need to do, he's too one dimensional. There, guys like this are a dime a dozen, and we need people who can contribute in different ways. I would not have a good argument against that.
I think it's a good transfer into who we've lost so far,
Yeah,
like the big guys. Like I thought about the Ross and Herring. People weren't that upset about Herring leaving, and then Ross left, and people were kind of pissed. And I made a comment. I was like, I don't even know why I follow high school recruiting anymore. Like it's he was a former top 20 kid, but that felt more. I don't think that's NIL per se, and it's possible Knowles watched them on films like these are not my guys. In the bowl game, that felt more football related than NIL related. Like go look at Ohio State's lines the 3 years Knowles was there. They did not have 225-pound Jordan Ross. They did not have 235-pound Caleb Herring. That's just was not in the system. So I think that might have been more of you guys just aren't going to have roles here than just straight monetary value, at least with those two guys.
yeah, like, and again, like this could absolutely fall into the category of like SEC fans coping with dudes piecing out in the portal. I'm totally open to that.
100% possible.
100% possible. And it could also fall into the category of Ross, you know, pulls his name out and sticks around, and we're excited about him in some role
I
next
would
fall.
prefer to have Ross back.
Yeah,
Herring,
totally.
I'm not losing sleep over. I'd like to have Ross back, but I just wonder, again, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, like we're going to say the same thing is like Ross. The reason we'd like to have Ross back is because Ross is a really cool idea, but that's all he is right now. And I think about like those really good Ohio State defenses. I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, but like Jack Sawyer was the one who made the biggest play of the whole playoff for them. And that dude's 265.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a small one on their line.
Yeah.
He was the athletic
Right.
one. And so, and it's not to say that Ross isn't going to put on weight. This is part of the conversation between like, what does it look like to be a 20-year-old versus a 23-year-old in this sport? But I just, the pattern of how that transfer happened, it didn't seem like there was some immediate like money grab. I'm going to go here. It could have been one where he had conversations with the staff, and we have no idea.
No.
But it could have been. And again, if I'm going to be like a stubborn stick in the mud about the transfer portal and say like, hey, people can go, it's okay. I'm not worried about, and there's multiple people that I'm not worried about being in the portal. I wasn't worried about Cam Seldon. I wasn't worried about Peyton Lewis. I wasn't worried about Squirrel White. Like if I'm going to be stubborn that guy on this topic, I think I technically have to be stubborn that guy on Jordan Ross as well. But it's a little more squirmy given that we need something on defense.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, the idea of what Ross could be is really important. But if he doesn't fit Knowles' system, I mean, he plays he plays 4 down line. Like, that's what he does.
And if he doesn't fit the system, then it's just a matter of time before he's transferring out anyway.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. Gibson sucks. I would have liked to see him, but I don't know if he was ever fully bought in anyway. I remember his freshman, sophomore year both. I think he did hit the portal after his sophomore year for 24 hours. He pulled a Matthews. And I think even after his freshman year, we were hearing rumors. So It sucks, but I'm not. I don't. I don't think there was anything that could be done about that one. The one that really got me mad was Hurd. Hurd sucks from multiple levels. I actually think Tennessee is fine. Like, I think Sanders and Perry on the outside is born capable. Perry had a good year. Sanders, we know what his talent level is. But you get a guy
Those two
after
tackles can absolutely work.
absolutely. But you get a guy after his freshman year, didn't work out. Comes in as a sophomore, guaranteed starting spot, big time money. He's not in shape. He didn't take his offseason seriously. He struggles badly, doesn't get replaced because they guaranteed him a spot with the money. Staff sticks with it. He realizes, hey, I need to have a better year. He gets in serious shape, proves greatly. He has an excellent year. And then because he probably is going to get an extra $500K somewhere because Tennessee wants to spend on their defense and they put a lot of money into Sanders, and Perry's probably like, hey, if I don't get paid, then I'm not guaranteed a starting spot. I'll go somewhere and start somewhere in the SEC. They can't afford to bring Hurd back, and now he's going to leave. And this is why this is the transfer I hate. This is the one that bothers me. I'm not bothered by Jordan Ross 2 years didn't work out going somewhere else.
Genuinely take your talent somewhere.
Exactly. I'm not bothered by Ricky Gibson playing 3 years and it just seemed like it never clicked and a new defensive coordinator's coming in. He hasn't transferred before and he's going to go. That stuff I'm fine with. I'm bothered that we get a guy after his freshman year. He doesn't take it seriously. He still starts because he was guaranteed a spot. Then he finally does. And then Tennessee's like, well, we need defense and spend money. And because he can make more money in NIL than being a third-round pick, he leaves. That is where I'm like, why is there not a safeguard? That's not a guy who should transfer. And I'm not even fully blaming Lance for this. It's just also really infuriating.
It's one of those where like this, if you're going to have movement the way we have movement, then you're going to have this. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that it's not stupid.
No, this is where it's like, can we please institute, like, if you try and transfer a second time before you graduate, you have to sit out or something. Like, this is where I get bothered by it. Because this is not a guy that needs to transfer. But because Tennessee has an NIL budget, and because Tennessee's got commitments elsewhere, and because Tennessee wants to focus more on defense, and because we are in such a world where he can get paid $3 million and make more in college than as an NFL third-round pick, this is where something's got to be done.
Yeah. I was thinking about like the best way to like the comparison point to think about Hurd's case. Maybe he would be a third-round pick. I mean, he would get drafted, no doubt about it. He's too talented of an offensive tackle. So, like, maybe late second, maybe third, depends on what, he's one that I could see teams have him off the board and teams have him in the second round. Whatever story is being told to him by himself, by a coach, by a handler, I don't know. Whoever is telling him your draft prospects are going to be vastly improved by popping to a new system for a year and making it click it's just not the case. And so that's why I think it frustrates me the most is, again, go find your market value, go find your maximum market value. I understand the system we're working in right now. But to act like you're going to go and you're going to be in a new system and like, depending on the squad you're on, like maybe you're guaranteed left tackle, maybe not. Maybe you end up a right tackle anyway. I have no idea. For an extra $250 or $500K. And, I feel like that's going to change it from like a mid third round pick to an early third round pick. Absolute maximum. Whereas if you stayed here, like the outcome is not going to be any different if you stayed in this system. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what drives me so crazy about it is like, I think what people are picturing is like, oh, there needs to be movement because this guy could go and seize the opportunity to recognize his draft value and his monetary value. It's like, no, that's what he's doing. That's what he's been doing at this particular program. And now it's like, if you can even get one more percentage point of either one of those things, if you can get 1 percentage point movement on your draft value or 1 percentage point movement on your NIL value, you should just turn around and hold the program hostage that mentored you for the past 2 years. That is what I hate about this crap. And and it's not his fault. It's not that he is a bad decision maker. It's not that any of these guys are bad decision makers. But the system we've created where you're like, hey, this program is trying to they're trying to have you in this program to grow. And then the second you grow, you turn around to that program and say, what you gonna do? That is just not a sustainable thing. And I think Gibson's a different case. I think there's all these different ones, but the very specific ones that are, we have shepherded you along. And part of the reason is because you're an extremely talented guy. You're a gifted athlete. We've shepherded you along to the point where you've exceeded where you were when you got here. The idea that, and this is what it is for most people, the idea that the immediate move at that point should be to turn around and hold that program hostage has broken some stuff.
Yes. Again, I hate that Tennessee, which does have a good amount of money, had to make a salary cap decision in college football. They could easily, here's the thing, Tennessee, and we're speculating, but
100%.
I would think if Hurd had problems with the staff or something else, or if they mismanage an injury, he's not playing in the bowl game, right? That's what I'm thinking. He's probably playing in the bowl game so he can fulfill his contract to get his money, right? So my issue is that Tennessee has to make this decision because Lance is like, hey, I want more money. And my agent's telling me I can go make, I think NACO said $3 million, if I'm not mistaken, $3 million at a different school. And Tennessee's like, well, here's our NIL budget. And we've got probably, 7 different spots on defense we need to work at. Plus we could use an extra running back. And oh, by the way, Sam Levitt wants to visit. So now that's going to have to, I hate that part of it because it's literally like saying well, thank you, Pro Bowl safety, but we're paying our quarterback $50 million a year. So, we're going to make the decision to let you go and we're going to try and draft your replacement. That should not be college football. That's where I run into the issue. We are now just playing, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, NFL. We're playing NFL like now.
Yeah, and it's become,
while hiding beside a fugazi of numbers.
Yeah.
At least in the NFL, I can look at the salary cap and be like, oh, hey, that's right. They can't afford that guy for $18 million. I can't do that at Tennessee because I don't know who's paying who and what donors which and everything.
We can predict that there might be some cap casualties in the NFL because there's a structure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I know the Lions are probably going to have to pay a guy. It's okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it's like Lance Hurd. I don't know who's paying and who's offering $3 million or whatnot. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's all, frankly, BS is my take on it. And I also hate the never-ending nature of it, as in, I mean, this is a stupid example because it's not the same case. But I think about Boo Carter. Comes in, the running joke is well, this will be a fun 12 months. And it turned out to be true in some ways. He walked himself out of the program, and we're not going to miss that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But say he had his head on straight and been focused. It would have just been turn around. Every single week, he would have just turned around and said, what can you do for me now? And that's maybe the worst version of it. But the idea that it's okay, it's almost like, okay, I had a good grade on the game this week. What's that going to mean for my NIL this offseason? It's that's not how this works.
It's the famous Isaiah Bond story. He catches that 4th and goal from the 30 against Auburn. And, Saban basically was like, part of the reason he retires. Next day, Isaiah Bond goes, hey, I want more money because I made that catch.
Who's a player this year for the Lions that exceeded your expectations? Sore subject, I know, but
yeah, it was not a great year. So Rock Yassin had a really good year.
In college football, he would be turning to Dan Campbell and saying, how high can you go?
Yeah.
Instead of what I imagine is happening and having a meeting with Dan Campbell and Dan Campbell saying, I think you can grow more from here. Awesome job.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
just it's the opposite of what the dynamic should be. And this isn't me trying to control these young talented people, but the idea that a college football coach investing in you and then at the end of the season you get together and say, "Where can you grow from here?" instead of how can you preemptively pay me is just I just think we missed it a little bit.
Right. The transfer portal is meant for guys like Chris Donald, who came in as a 5-star and just didn't develop,
Yep.
but was still talented enough to go play at a really low D1 school, but then he had to sit a year. Like, that's what I want the transfer portal to be. Or, a guy plays 3 years at a mid-major and then wants to get a big payday. I'm cool with that too. What I don't
Yeah.
want is Lance Hurd being like, hey, my agent said I can get an extra $250K. Can you match that? And Tennessee like, actually, we can't. And we have David Sanders and Jesse Perry. We need defensive linemen. Sorry, Lance. And Lance going, okay, thanks. I'm going to leave. And again, the idea that he will make more money playing college football than being an NFL third-round pick is absurd.
The other really good example I have, like I saw this happen in the portal and I was like, oh, that makes sense. James Peoples, Ohio State running back. He's transferring to Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
He's talented. He's even produced a little bit for Ohio State, but this year Bo Jackson was extremely good for Ohio State, and he's a freshman. He's younger than Peoples. It's like this is a really talented roster, and you didn't find your way onto it. Go
Yes,
make an
100%.
impact at this other similar school with a new coach who's looking for a running back. Like, there's all sorts of ways that this makes sense, and then there's all sorts of ways that it does not make sense to me.
Well, that's what happens when the dumbest organization in the world is overseas
It's
college
let
football.
loose.
Yes, exactly.
So I want to kind of circle back around to playoff conversation. It is high time for some good football. I think we had some really fun football. We had week 18 in the NFL as well, which was extremely silly, but fun. And now we're on the horizon is, I think, 5 nights in a row of playoff football in one form or another. So just a quick review. We had Miami knocked off the Buckeyes. Miami played extremely well in that game.
Fantastic game.
Great game. They showed up. It's always interesting when you have one of those games where, like, if you had told me Jeremiah Smith's stats, I would have said Ohio State won.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a future conversation around draft time, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. That game makes me very wary of Cardinal Tate, but that's a different conversation. So Miami won, Indiana completely erased Alabama, in just really surgical ways is the way I described it. Ole Miss won just a completely normal, calm game against Georgia, and then Oregon played, I think it was Texas Tech, but I'm pretty sure Texas Tech forgot to show up, and I'm pretty sure Texas Tech's quarterback got Sorsby an extra of how much? 500,000, 750,000 in the portal.
When Sorsby buys his yacht or buys his boat or whatever he does with that extra NIL money, he should name it Morton. Because
yes, he should.
I think that earned him the extra million with how bad Morton played in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, David Bailey played great. Jacob Rodriguez played great, and it just wasn't going to happen. And so we have tomorrow night Miami and Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss has at least one or two coaches left on staff right now. And then we have Friday night, Oregon, Indiana. Do you have a lean on either of these or a preference on either of these?
I think Indiana win the national title. I want Miami because my best friend of 20 years is a Miami Hurricanes fan, so I'm cheering for him for his happiness. He's also a Panthers fan, so he's got a lot riding this weekend.
Home game, baby.
Hear those roar, Panthers.
It's going to be pretty bad.
Yeah. I would say I think Indiana is going to win against Oregon again, although just thinking of rematches and stuff in college football, man, it just feels like that second game is just begging for Oregon to win. And I think Miami's going to get Ole Miss.
So you know what's interesting? So I don't disagree that Indiana's going to win. If Oregon had won earlier in the year, you know what's so funny? I think we would be even more sure that Indiana would win.
Or would we just be like, see, Oregon proved
I don't know.
They're more talented than Indiana. Like, it's going to be really, but
when you think about the draft, like I mean, that could be the number 1 and number 2 pick going at it.
It's right. Lanning's terrible at rematches. I think I've seen he's
Yeah.
0-3 or something like that in rematches. It's bad.
Maybe
So
he's just a bad coach.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's going to be Indiana Miami, which would be a really fun playoff matchup. It was nice after last year. I thought the playoffs were underwhelming. I thought it was just not great football either. I thought the football was really good over the quarterfinals. Just very good football in general. That could be coaches getting used to the schedule more. That could be just the matchups were better, and I forget the Notre Dame Georgia one had that delay because of what happened in New Orleans. And that game just was a weird fog. So I think this was a much better quarterfinal than the previous year. And I think all 4 teams are awesome stories. That's the fun part. Indiana completes the greatest college football story maybe ever. Ole Miss completes the second greatest college football story maybe ever. Miami gets back to prominence after they were the last team in and controversially gets in. That's
and knocks
a great
off Ohio
story.
State on the way.
Yeah, it knocks Ohio State off the defending champs on the way. And then Oregon, probably the best program to never win a title, finally gets over the hump and wins a title. And really the first West title since USC.
Yeah.
And I can't even, off the top of my head, I don't know when the last Washington in the 1990s, the last non-USC champion. So that's a great story too. So all of them have fantastic narratives. Where last year it was Notre Dame, okay, Ohio State, invalidating the Michigan loss. It just kind of was weird. And then you had, Texas. Texas would have been a good story, but nobody likes Sark, so it didn't really matter. So, so it was kind of that, the interesting, and then Penn State was nobody wants Penn State to win the title because it's James Franklin. So this is a much better semifinal for narratives than it was last year. And I think both games are going to be really good. I'm really excited. It's just dumb that we're playing this on Thursday, Friday.
It's so stupid. Oh my gosh. The schedule is as dumb as it gets. And I get that they don't want to go up against the NFL, but the schedule has to be fixed in some way. College football is still allowed to exist in a non-stupid way, guys.
We will fix it. We will fix it with our episode. I don't know when we're going to do that. Maybe February, maybe after March. We're going to fix college football. We promise people.
The last thing I'll hit you with, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but I want your lean. You don't have to make a pick, but I want your lean on the NFL playoff games. There's a bunch of good matchups is the reason I'm doing this. So last couple minutes here, I'm just going to go in order. Rams, Panthers. Okay. Panthers.
Let's do it. Let's go. Keep pounding, baby.
Keep pounding. Maybe Luke Kuechly will come out and play. Packers, Bears. What a fun game for you, by the way.
Death.
Death of the universe. Okay, got it. Bills, Jaguars. Can Josh Allen win his first ever road playoff game?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, actually. I didn't realize Allen's never won a pro. Give me the Bills. This Jacksonville team's the weirdest team I've seen in a while. They've been maybe the best team in the NFL for the last month, and then the first 2.5 months it was pure luck. But you never see that where it's this team is not good. All the metrics say they suck, and then the last month it's they got
better.
They got better. So I'm going to take Bills.
49ers, Eagles.
Man, this might be the toughest one. I'm going to take Eagles, but it would be funny if they lost and then John Harbaugh became the Eagles coach.
I like multiple players on the Eagles. I have an affinity for them in some ways, but it would be funny for them to lose 27-9 because it would be a shit show.
I mean, Nick Sirianni would be probably the quickest fired coach after winning a Super Bowl, not even 12 months. So
if they lose,
I think
if they score single digits and lose, I think he might get fired.
Well, yeah, especially Harbaugh on there. Harbaugh has a bunch of Eagles ties.
Chargers, Patriots.
I'm going to say Chargers for my brother, who's a Chargers fan, but I don't have faith in that one.
I love the Chargers, man, but I do think it's this game, maybe not, but overall, it sucks to feel like the Chargers don't have a chance because I just don't see how you win multiple games with both tackles out for the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't either. Also, Drake May like winning a Super Bowl and becoming like, is he the best quarterback in the NFL would break my brain. Just out of
I
nowhere,
always thought
second
he would
year.
be good, but it's like, damn, man,
My proudest take, I said I would take him number 1 over Caleb.
they're
That
both
was
pretty good though.
I'm not fully sold on Caleb, but he's been better this year. I
Caleb
will say.
has gotten to exist in a very nicely structured offense, so good for him.
We'll
And
see
then
how that goes next year.
and then they have some questions at receiver. It's not as pretty as everyone wants it to be.
No, it's not. That's true.
And then the one exciting part of the Patriots that I feel like I actually nailed was Travion Henderson because he kind of dipped, but he's just
A
nasty.
brutal fantasy football cut for me.
He basically was rookie Jahmyr Gibbs.
No.
It's pretty similar.
He was very good, though. He was very good.
And then Texans Steelers, obviously the most important matchup.
Texans.
Texans.
Aaron Rodgers winning a playoff game would make me sick.
I think it would be absolutely hilarious if they just won the AFC.
It would be funny. It would be hilarious. We've seen it before. There's a blueprint.
Yeah, so that takes us from Thursday to Monday, and that Texans Steelers game is the Monday cap. The 49ers Eagles seems like the hardest one to read, like could go the most directions, but it also has the second biggest line. The Eagles are favored by 4.5.
Interesting. Is the Tyler Loop missed field goal going to be one of the greatest butterfly effects in NFL history?
I think it depends on what Baltimore does.
Right. If they actually end up winning us, they like hiring the right coach, or
Yeah,
if it ends there, like it's just going to be it's so fascinating. A 40-yard kick just decided a job, decided two jobs.
I was going through some cards with my son. We like had some packs of cards over Christmas and we were kind of just organizing them today. And we were going through and he was deciding like which one should be in a hard case versus not, like just like the ones he likes the most. Like obviously he's a huge Rangers fan, so like every Texas Ranger, even one who's not on the team anymore, like that's going in a hard case, blah, blah, blah. Baseball, football, everything. And we just stumbled upon a Tyler Luke card. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this in the doesn't need a hard case pile because we'll see what happens. Who would you put in Baltimore?
I did have the Ryan Day discussion with my brother.
Ooh.
I did.
Huh.
Just seems like a perfect time for Day to take an NFL job.
I couldn't blame him.
I think it's the right team, right franchise, right situation, perfect timing.
So much of the roster decisions are going to be taken care of.
Yep. You got the quarterback. It sounds like they want an offensive guy. Like it makes sense. He has NFL experience. Makes complete sense to me.
That would be really interesting.
I think I broke your brain. Nice job.
Yeah,
Zach.
you did. I was just thinking like, well, the one that's been rumored so much is Minter, but that's so weird because of the Harbaugh part of it.
Well, and Lamar, I think wants an offensive coach. Like that seems to be
the one I would just put there for like, I think it would work would be Flores, but I don't know that that's what they want.
No, I don't think Flores would get along with Lamar. I think McDaniel makes a ton of sense as well. Mike McDaniel. Because I think Miami's just not a great spot, and I think what he's done with Tua, I think is very impressive, and I think that would work. Although he just doesn't seem like a Baltimore fit from a personality standpoint, but
they need something different though, and he's different.
Yeah, and I don't know. You just never know with these NFL jobs. Like it could be an NFL offense coordinator you wouldn't think of. Like that's kind of goes away. I literally went Ryan Day and then talked to my brother, and he was like, "Man, that's some good points there." Like
he's at some point you're there forever or you got to peace out.
Yeah. And I mean, he's not like under as much pressure this year, but I mean, if Whittingham goes into Ohio Stadium next year and beats him.
Yep.
And the Big Ten's getting
the type of guy that could do it.
Yeah. And it's getting a little tougher and you won the title, right? You won the national title. The program's in a great spot. Like it seems like the perfect time to just peace out.
Man, that would be extremely entertaining from the to the point where I almost hope it happens. The last thing I'll say on the NFL, I'm kind of proud of a couple I'm proud of the Cardinals for not just seeing if it continued to be bad. I'm proud of the Raiders for not just being like, oh, well, we only gave them 1 year. Cut bait on these guys, man. Try something else. I'm
Yeah,
so glad they didn't just let Carroll make this first overall pick and then fire him in a year.
Yeah, they had to do that, and it never made sense to begin with.
No.
That felt like we didn't get Ben Johnson. What do we do? Oh, Pete will take the job.
Yeah.
That just felt like it. Boy, being a Raiders fired head coach is a great gig. Let me tell you.
I'm gonna try to do that someday.
I think they've hired 14 head coaches since 2000.
Jesus Christ!
I think it was 14, and that includes Gruden technically just being one when he's had 2 different stints.
Maybe they'll hire him back. All right, we'll leave it there. We got all kinds of awesome football coming up. And the next podcast, we will be talking about that football. We'll be talking about college. And frankly, we'll be talking about the NFL too. This stuff has a chance to be that entertaining. And then we will also touch base on the basketball team. We have a little more evidence on the basketball team, some good, some bad. And we're going to wait till we get a little bit more this weekend and early next week and kind of touch base and see how we're feeling about that stuff. And then we'll see what other mess the football program gets into in the meantime.
Appreciate you guys. We had to take a week off. Unfortunately, it seemed like both of our families were sick the entire time, but it was nice to take a week off. I did started scratching my neck a little bit, be like, do you got any more podcasts to produce on Wednesday last week? But we appreciate you guys. We're excited for 2026. We have some great ideas. We're going to have a brainstorming session soon, see what we can do. And very excited to start the new year off right, and can't wait to come back next week. Thanks, guys. Go Vols.